Get into it. I love to get into this topic. We're talking about ultra processed foods. I love it because, like everybody, you love those foods, but also you have to know how bad they are. So we're going to be going through a bunch of degrees of this topic. Joe Rogan's going to be talking about ultra processed foods, and this one woman who's writing this article questioning how bad they really are for you. And of course, she's linking it to race. Hey, you don't like ultra processed foods. It's another thing that makes you racist. Just so you know, just putting it out there, okay? So we're going to be going, after the Joe Rogan clip, we're going to delve deeper into who that woman is. I found her Instagram. Then there's another creator on Instagram who goes even deeper into the whole ultra processed food industries and why people like this woman exist. Why do they push? Who are they actually backed by? They're going to find some really mind-blowing things. And then we're going to end it off with RFK doing his campaigning for Donald Trump in the best way he knows how, where he just breaks down ultra-processed foods, seed oils, and how terrible they are for you. But let's start off with the Rogan clip first. Here we go.
Obese, according to that.
Are you?
Yeah. I'm 5'8", not even 5'8". I'm under 5'8", and I weigh 202 pounds. I'm fat. I used to be 5'8". I'm shrinking.
You're shrinking? Yeah. Yeah.
Like disc degeneration, which is what happens to old people. They're just smaller and smaller. And I want to deny that I'm older, but God damn it, I'm fucking shrinking. And my...
Let me just say something real quick. You know I don't interrupt clips, but he used to be 5'8". Hey, man, you were never 5'8". It's all good. We don't care. We love you either way, Joe, okay? You're 5'6.5", and none of us care.
My back hurts, and one of the reasons why it's like years of jujitsu too, but weightlifting. But your discs get smaller, they get smushed, and your spinal column gets closer and closer together. And like there was a race car driver, and he was one of the guys that did Le Mans back in the day, and they got him in his original race car to take a lap around Le Mans, and he couldn't fit the pedals anymore because he had shrunk 4 inches since the time that he had. Because everybody just shrivels up.
Yeah, well, but again,
gravity
it's aging.
wins.
It all happens.
Gravity
right?
wins.
Yeah, one of my brothers flew jets in Vietnam, and that f***ed up his back. Man, his discs. Good God, the G-forces and all that.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah,
but the point is, like, we have a massive health crisis in this country. The obesity crisis is really legitimate, and it's terrifying that it's so prevalent and that no one's doing anything about it. And this is one of the things that RFK wants to do when he gets into office. And he's talking about seed oils, and he's talking about a lot of different things that are like terrible for health, that are ubiquitous in our diet, and to put some regulations on that stuff and to recognize that these are real issues and to inform people that these are real issues and not just let these big food companies just keep... I saw a fucking article today in Time Magazine.
Wait a minute, this Time Magazine is still
Magazine is still out there.
Wow.
See if you can find this cover, this article. It was are super processed foods really bad for you?
Oh, seriously.
This is the question. Instead of saying
is fentanyl a bad thing?
Wouldn't it be better to eat healthy?
Yeah.
Which everybody would agree. Are super processed foods really that bad for you? Well, I can help you out there and real quick. Yes.
No.
It says why they are.
Oh.
No. That's not what I saw. That is not what I saw. What if ultra processed food aren't as bad as you think? That's it. Well, they're not. They're a lot worse. They're fucking terrible for you. What kind of bullshit argument is this? This is real. They are really bad for you.
Jessica is passionate about the pupusas from Costco.
Oh, God, Jessica. How about have a banana? And you get on the treadmill, you fucking idiot. Like, what are we talking about?
I got a bag of pupusas.
We're eating shit that's terrible, that's really bad for you.
That's sort of what the next thing says, I guess.
Okay. It all started in the summer of 2023 when author and infectious disease physician Dr. Chris Von Tuliken was promoting his book, Ultra Processed People. While writing it, Von Tuliken spent a month eating mostly foods like chips, soda, bagged bread, frozen food, and cereal. What happened to me is exactly what the research says would happen to everyone. Von Tuliken says he felt worse, he gained weight, his hormone levels went crazy, and before and after MRI scans showed signs of changes in his brain. As Von Tuliken saw it, the experiment highlighted the terrible emergency of society's love affair with ultra-processed foods.
Okay, but this next part is really is also really Wilson,
who specializes in working with clients from marginalized groups. Groups was irked. She felt that Von Tuliken's experiment was over sensationalized, and that news coverage of it shamed people who regularly eat processed foods. Shamed them.
That's what you got.
That kind of fucking language drives me goddamn crazy. In other words, the vast majority of Americans, particularly the millions who are food insecure or have limited access to fresh food, they also tend to be lower income and people of color. Yeah, they fucking covered the whole spectrum.
Wilson felt the buzz ignored this food apartheid.
Food apartheid.
Oh, God.
Fucking crazy. As well as the massive diversity of foods that can be considered ultra-processed, a category that includes everything from vegan meat replacements, which, by the way, are really fucking bad for you, and non-dairy milks, which, by the way, are really fucking bad for you, to potato chips and candy, which, by the way, are really fucking bad for you. How can this entire category of foods be something we're supposed to avoid? Because it's not fucking food. It's not nutritious food. And if you eat non-nutritious food, you get fucking sick. Imagine like linking that to racism and inequality.
It also said she got 80% of her calories from processed foods.
Yeah, I like to see what that lady looks like naked.
Oh yeah.
It's an experiment what she did.
It was an experiment. Oh, okay.
Yeah, just an experiment for 40 years.
I'm still running.
I'm
with data.
experimenting with cheeseburgers today.
God.
And I'm gonna have an experimental Coke.
It marginalizes and shames people.
Yeah,
look,
marginalizing that kind of fucking language is so divisive.
I will say there's obviously a problem with what do they call them? Food deserts,
yes,
right? With
absolutely.
The inability of communities to access fresh foods. There's no doubt about it. If you want to eat healthy, it can cost more.
Right, but the solution is not to not tell people those foods are bad. The solution is to try to figure out maybe some of that 175 billion could have helped.
Yeah.
You know how many free meals they could have given people? Free healthy meals with $175 billion? If you really cared.
Yeah.
The problem with this is a real problem. Those foods are delicious.
Oh, they are delicious.
Cool Ranch Doritos and a nice cold Coca-Cola on ice.
McDonald's sausage McGriddle.
Oh, my goodness. Now you're talking my language.
Yeah.
Those fucking McGriddles are delicious.
Oh, my God. You know,
it's a dessert with sausage in it.
I'm going to tell you a quick story. I won't bore you with this one. Well, I will probably bore you with this one. I was in the airport in DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. I was transiting through the airport with my wife, and thank God she was there. And we're kind of running to get to the flight to go to Puerto Rico. I was going to give a speech there, and we hadn't had anything to eat all morning. And so we passed by McDonald's, and I go, God damn it, I'm just going to stop, I'll get a quick thing. So I got a sausage McGriddle, and I take a bite of it as we're kind of dashing towards the next flight, and I took a bite. I thought, oh no, it tastes too good, right? Like I can't eat this whole thing because I have this mentality that says I'm gonna have to throw this away, right? Because it's so damn good, I'm gonna want one every day. And so I literally tossed the rest of it in there. That was the last thing I'd eaten. I got on the plane, had the Widowmaker, massive heart attack, went out, right? They had to get the plane off the tarmac.
Oh, that was when that happened?
That was when it happened. The last thing I'd eaten was a bite of that McGriddle.
If you ate the whole thing, you
if I ate the whole thing, I probably would have been okay.
You'd had a heart attack.
I couldn't believe it. So I haven't had anything like that ever since.
God, they're so good though.
I remember it. I still to this day I remember it.
McGriddles are fucking delicious.
Crazy, but
they're so good. If I'm just gonna have a cheat meal of a breakfast food, I'm going McGriddle all the way. They nailed it. I know it's bad for you. I'm not saying you should eat it, but goddamn, it's good.
Yeah.
They knocked that one right out of the fucking park.
No, they didn't. Those things are gross. You kidding me? From the first time I heard about that, but I'm like, I shouldn't say I'm super healthy. I love fast food. I love it. It's delicious. But I also know that it's kind of engineered to be delicious, So it's like when somebody's talking in front of you, maybe they're a good salesman, but they're just putting on a shtick in front of you. You're just kind of like, I like what he's saying, but I know what's going to happen here. He's going to give me a heart attack. That's kind of how I look at it right now, especially as you get older, Joe's almost 60. It's time to put the McGriddle. At a certain point, listen, time to put the McGriddles down, okay? Trump is an anomaly. He is 1 in a billion, okay? He's eating fast food all the time. Believe me, you're not going to be near 80 doing that yourself. Don't try it. Don't try that at home. Let me tell you something, kids. Let's get into who Joe was actually talking about. So this is the woman that he was talking about. Let's pull up her actual Instagram. Do I have that? Let me just pull that up first. Let me pull this up here. Let me show you her Instagram. There she is. This is Jessica Wilson. So she's the woman. She's a dietitian apparently. And this is the weirdest thing. And she has this whole thing that she calls ultra processed Fridays. So on Friday, she has some ultra processed food. Some people might refer to that as a cheat meal, things of that nature. But this is the woman pushing this, okay? She's pushing this stuff hard. Very interesting stuff. I should start following her. But listen to this video that she made about what Joe's talking about. So this is everything. This is what Joe was talking about when he was talking about her, when he was talking about that other person that tried fast food or ultra processed food for however many days. This sums everything up. Listen to this lady.
Apparently NPR wasn't done. I've got 3 things on this and then a special bonus. First, 80% is not only. I mean, I think that's simple math. Second, this guy is not news. Shout out to his PR team. Every major news outlet that I've seen lately has been covering ultra-processed foods. And his book's a bestseller. Elitism and sensationalism when it comes to food sells. And also, number 3. This is clearly about race, class, and access. We have the same examples of ultra-processed food that we hear time and time again. It's soda, it's sugary cereals, it's microwavable meals, things that are easy and low cost to make. And again, we can't forget those babies who just all day long are eating ultra-processed food. But when a doctor decides to have 80% of his calories come from ultra-processed foods, it's somehow news. And as I've discussed in earlier videos, the criteria for what makes an ultra-processed food is incomprehensible. So, if that doctor can make news headlines for eating only processed foods for 30 days, so can this dietitian. So with the help of a food engineer, we'll try to make sense of these guidelines and come up with a way for my diet to have even more than 80% of my calories come from ultra-processed foods. The ultimate what I eat in a day. I'll show that it's really about race, class, elitism, and access. So, Alice and Aubrey, Dr. Tullican, NPR, I see you and I race you. Apparently,
So it's all about elitism, race, classism. That's what all this is about. It has nothing to do with that doctor wanting to raise awareness, wanting people to know what happens to a person when they eat ultra-processed foods. You know, she's nitpicking at everything, and you're like, why would she nitpick? Why would someone go in so hard about this subject? You know, you'd think they would just be like, wow, that's great information. Didn't know your hormones go out of whack. You know, and the thing is, also, you know, she's obviously, you know, she's black. She looks blacker than Kamala Harris, you know. So she's black. Wouldn't you want the people in these inner cities to know that the food that they're giving their kids constantly is causing things like your hormones to get out of whack, and I'm sure a whole series of other things that we probably can't even get to on here. But wouldn't you want that? Wouldn't you want them to know so they could start making better decisions? Because the whole act, and I know for fact, because I was one of these kids. I was one of these people. My mom was one of these parents. You can do it. My mom would buy a whole sack of rice, and rice isn't the best thing, but at least it's some kind of whole food. And she would literally just buy chicken. That's it. You know, we didn't have much else, but we would be able to eat chicken and rice. And yeah, we had to eat it all the time. And it could drive you crazy, but it kept us pretty healthy throughout our lives. And then she would also have like corned beef. When money got really tight, she'd buy like cans of corned beef. Sometimes she'd buy cans of sardines, and I would just eat sardines. Like, there's many things that you can do. She was very health conscious because she was a bodybuilder. She competed. She was very tuned in, but you could make it work. You know, her job was delivering newspapers, and that was how she fed 3 boys. I know you can do it. I know it. So to just be like, oh no, you can't be saying this about these people and this is all classism and elitism is complete BS. Now listen to this video where she goes in again. Now I'm going to show you another video by this creator here. Oh, sorry, wrong tab. This creator here, and he's going to break down exactly why someone like this woman exists. And believe me, it's not to fight racism and classism. Let's get into it.
associated with Black and brown children, it's a problem. So when people try and tell you it's really about the children, just remember which children we're being told are the problem. We just can't unsee what's happening here. Just a reminder that we can't separate race from our nutrition policies. This is a billboard from Oakland, California's soda tax campaign. I'll tell you who wasn't a part of this campaign. Brad and Vanessa were not told that their dry January might give them diabetes. Kevin and Carly are not shamed for their healthy alternative to alcohol. But when that substitute for alcohol comes from a corner store and is associated with Black and brown children, it's a problem. So when people try and tell you it's really about the children, just remember which children we're being told are the problem. We just can't unsee what's happening here. Just a reminder that we can't separate race from our nutrition policies.
This is just another person who's just trying to be a race hustler. In my opinion, she's a dietitian. And listen, I'm not being insulting. Doesn't look like the best dietitian. I'm just saying. Joe Rogan brought it up. He's like, I wonder what this lady looks like eating like this. I'm just saying. So she's a dietitian. It's probably not going all that well. You probably have to, I'm not going to say make money other places, but you have to have some way to pull people in. And this is the way that she's doing it. There is a whole class of woke people who will gravitate towards this and say, yes, I did not realize she's breaking down this angle that no one's talking about. And it's really about racism and classism. Now, that's wild. That's such a dangerous thing to do. Joe Rogan brought up how it's such divisive language, because when you do that, now when certain people see it, now when left-leaning people see this type of thing and they see people talking about, listen, ultra-processed foods, that's a real problem. You shouldn't be eating that. They're going to be like, well, some people have no choice. And that is what they don't even realize, that that's what they're doing to the inner cities and Black and brown people. They're saying, well, no, let's not change anything there because they have no choice. It's fine. They can't do any better than that. So since they can't do any better than that, let's just not make them feel bad. That's a terrible way to go, I have to say, 100%. Now, let's get into this creator. This guy, that is his name right up there. Let me make sure I can get on there. There you go. That's his name right there. This guy breaks down a lot of truth. If you're on Instagram, this guy's a great follow. I don't know why it says I'm not following him. I definitely am. This guy is a great account to follow. Listen to what he has to say. It's great.
Says, what if ultra-processed foods aren't as bad as you think, and maybe gone, oh really? Well, I'm about to break it down for you, because it's worse than you think. This article cites a dietitian named Jessica Wilson. And this is Jessica Wilson. You can see she's promoting something called #UltraProcessed Fridays. She also makes posts like this, playing the race card to basically run cover for Big Sugar by saying an ad like this, which is warning Latino children that drinking Coke will lead to diabetes, and saying this is racist. And why might she be doing this? Well, let me introduce you to the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, your trusted source for food and nutrition information. The Academy represents more than 112,000 credentialed nutrition and dietetics practitioners. And the Academy's quote-unquote healthful eating messaging had reached approximately 25 billion people last year. Except they're really just the propaganda arm of Big Food. They take money from the who's who of Big Food. You got companies like ConAgra, PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, Hershey's, General Mills, Kellogg's, etc., etc. The leaders of this academy are also tied to Big Food. Sylvia Rowe, member of the Academy Foundation Board of Directors. She is the former vice president of communications for the Sugar Association. Mary Lee Chin, she is a member of the Academy Foundation Board of Directors, and she is also a former consultant for Monsanto. Hope Warshaw, former chair of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics Foundation and member of the Academy's Board of Directors. Well, she used to promote artificial sweeteners. The list literally goes on and on and on. But yeah, just a little revolving door action, no worries. Let's keep going. Records obtained through FOIA show that they're also invested in big food companies like PepsiCo. An email also obtained through FOIA sent by a prominent Academy spokesperson named Donna Martin. She says that everything looks good to me. The only flag that I saw was that PepsiCo is one of our top 10 stocks. I personally like PepsiCo and do not have any problems with us owning it, but I wonder if someone will say something about that. Well, I'll say it doesn't look great, Donna. But even if Donna developed a conscience and wanted to speak out, she could actually get into a lot of trouble. In 2013, Carol Bartolotto, a registered dietitian in California, was removed from an Academy of Nutrition Dietetics panel. At the time, she was working on a panel charged with setting policy on genetically modified foods for the Academy, and she was removed for pointing out that 2 of its members had ties to Monsanto, and for pointing out that they wanted them to write the paper before the work group finished its review of the scientific materials. She said at the time, quote, "Why have a work group if its conclusions are not going to be the basis for the position paper?" Sounds like corruption. So yeah, that's how we end up with an article like this. And you're right, Callie, we are under attack. You might have come across
Wow. See, I told you, he does great breakdowns like that all the time. I know it's a little hard to watch that type of content. You know, it's like, I think he's primarily on TikTok, which is why he makes content like that, where he's like behind it and there's a green screen and he's pointing. But it's always great information. I believe he also works for Breaking Points, which I don't like, but also when he's left on his own to just be independent, he does stuff like this. So great follow there. Let's get into RFK breaking down the whole food industry and how corrupt it all is. This is his speech where he was endorsing Trump, and then I got another one after that I'll play for you guys while he was on Fox. And kudos to Fox for actually allowing RFK to say the things that he has to say in that clip. Let's go.
Are we allowing this to happen to our
Of course I'm listening to it double speed, okay? That's how I do it, all right? Sorry.
children? These are the most precious assets that we have in this country. How can we let this happen to them? About 18% of American teens now have fatty liver disease. That's like 1 out of every 5. That disease, when I was a kid, only affected late-stage alcoholics who were elderly. Cancer rates are skyrocketing in the young and the old. Young adult cancers are up 79%. 1 in 4 American women is on antidepressant medication. 40% of teens have a mental health diagnosis. And 15% of high schoolers are on Adderall, and 500,000 children on SSRIs. So what's causing this suffering? I'll name 2 culprits. First, and the worst, is ultra-processed food. About 70% of American children's diet is ultra-processed. That means industrial manufactured in a factory. These foods consist primarily of processed sugar, ultra-processed grains, and seed oils. Laboratory scientists who many of whom formerly worked for the cigarette industry, which purchased all the big food companies in the 1970s and 80s, deployed thousands of scientists to figure out chemicals, new chemicals, to make the food more addictive. And these ingredients didn't exist 100 years ago. Humans aren't biologically adapted to eat them. Hundreds of these chemicals are now banned in Europe, but ubiquitous in American processed foods. The second culprit is toxic chemicals in our food, our medicine, and our environment. Pesticides, food additives, pharmaceutical drugs, and toxic waste permeate every cell of our bodies. The assault on our children's cells and hormones is unrelenting. To name just one problem, many of these chemicals increase estrogen because young children are ingesting so many of these hormone disruptors. America's puberty rate is now occurring at age 10 to 13, which is 6 years earlier than girls were reaching puberty in 1900.
Wow. Again, you know, it's not the full clip. There's still a little bit of time left, but if you wanted to just watch that clip on its own, I am reposting everything on X. So if you follow me on X, you'll be able to watch these clips uninterrupted by me. Some of you guys are looking for that type of thing. You can find that on X, okay? Let's move on to the next thing RFK has to say. And that was a wild thing he just said, 6 years earlier than in the 1900s. And the fact that he's bringing this up only makes me want to see Trump in office even more, because if he actually tackles, because RFK understands, he understands the history of where it all is coming from and how it's happening. If he can all of a sudden be the person that stands in front of all of that corruption and allows America to get healthy, it's just, you have no idea. You know, talk about a huge military. What about a huge population of people that have it together, that are squared away physically? Like, come on. Listen to this stuff here.
Encountering these food items in grocery stores everywhere. Maybe we could just start right here with seed oils. We're hearing a lot about seed oils. Why should people be worried about these kind of products?
Seed oils are one of the most unhealthy ingredients that we have in foods. And seed oils, the reason they're in the foods is because they're heavily subsidized. They're very, very cheap, but they are associated with all kinds of very, very serious illnesses, including body-wide inflammation.
Right.
Which affects all of our health. It's one of the worst things you can eat, and it's almost impossible to avoid. If you eat any processed food, you're going to be eating seed oil.
Right, and it's interesting, the government subsidizes it. Why would the government want to subsidize something that's going to make people sick, and then in the end, we all end up paying for that in terms of healthcare costs, which are skyrocketing?
Yeah, because that is a direct result of corruption. About 75% of FDA's budget comes from regulated industry, and that means food processors and pharmaceutical industry. All of them profit from a sick population.
You know, a big item that, and by the way, it's getting very expensive, are cereals. Why is the food coloring in particular bad?
Food coloring, you see here yellow food coloring, that is a petroleum product. Mm-hmm. It's associated with really, with depression. It's associated with autoimmune injuries and ADHD.
Yeah.
These, and red dye also is very bad. In Europe, the same companies are producing the same products, but they're using natural coloring. But here they can get away with it. We have about almost 1,000 chemicals that are in our food that are either outright banned in Europe or actively discouraged. So you wouldn't be able to buy this kind of stuff in Europe. You ask about why it's so cheap, why it's so ubiquitous. It's because we subsidize the worst foods. We subsidize it with about 70% of our food stamp program is to processed foods, which are all poison.
Right. One of the things that's interesting is you'll see on labels natural flavors, which is this catch-all phrase that I guess was lobbied for, but the ingredients in natural flavors are not really natural.
No. In our country, natural flavors are chemical products. So you can't trust what's on the ingredient label, and the reason for that, again, is government corruption. It's that the agency, the USDA, the FDA, have been captured by the industries they're supposed to regulate. And they all have an interest in subsidies and then in mass poisoning the American public.
Yeah, I want to talk about pesticides, and then let's talk.
Man, see what I mean? Like she just asked him about one thing, natural flavorings, which I've always wondered myself. I'm like, why is it called natural? Like, why would you label it that? And why is the same natural flavor in so many different things? But you just ask him about that one thing and he understands. He's like, okay, that's linked to the FDA because of this. It's just like, this guy needs to be in a position to actually do this stuff. And now let me just say something real quick. Completely off topic, okay? It's completely off topic, all right? But the lady beside him, okay? You see her? 9 kids. 9. Come on. It's completely off topic, I know. But 9 kids. Come on. You know how crazy that is to me? I don't know. This is tripping me out. I don't know. I heard that the other day and I was like, come on, are you kidding me right now? I just had to say it out loud. I'm sorry. Now, there is a whole article about this dietitian. I'm a dietitian who ate processed foods for a month to prove it's not so bad. This is Jessica's whole thing. Somebody wrote an article on her and the ridiculousness that she's doing. And the thing about it is really that bad. See, this is her promoting it, and now we understand. It doesn't make sense when you're just seeing it in an Instagram post. You're like, oh, this woman must really care about people of color. But then all of a sudden, you dig a little deeper through all these clips that we've gone through, and you start to understand, oh no, she's being positioned. She's being positioned the exact same way Joe Scarborough's being positioned in front of everybody. The same way Joe Scarborough said to everybody, Biden is cogent, and F you if you can't tell, he's the best Biden ever. The same way he was doing that, that's exactly what she's doing with ultra-processed foods. She's going, oh, it's not so bad. And here's another question for this lady. Why doesn't she ask the question of why is it people of colors, like, these, it's not just people of color. There's poor white people too. You clue in. I grew up around a lot of poor white people. Like, we had to do what we had to do. But why doesn't she ask the question of, why do these poor working class families, why is that their only option? Isn't that a better question, rather than saying, I can't believe you're questioning ultra processed foods? It's a wild game. It's a wild game. It's a dirty game. And honestly, that lady right there should be ashamed of herself. Now, I understand that she might have a different approach and she might want people to understand maybe moderation, things of that sense. But the fact that she's like, no, I'm going to get more of my diet, more than 80% of my diet is going to be processed foods, and I'm going to show you how good it is. That's not good. It's not good. I don't know, man. Very, very sad stuff. I've been staying away from it myself ever since I had a kid. It's just like, you just really clue in. I can't wait for RFK to be in that position. The fact that Kamala Harris and that side is not willing to have RFK in that position only shows how much more how important it is that she's not in office. She won't have the one guy who wants to make America healthy. She refuses to really address inflation. Just whatever. It's not a Kamala Harris video, but just seeing how dedicated RFK is, and the fact that if Kamala Harris said, you can make America healthy again, yeah, bring it in. Bring it in. Of course, we'll work closely with you. I'll put you in the... She could have easily said that. He actually reached out to her first, reached out to the Democrat Party, the left first, because that's where he's from. That's where his family's from. Trump was the one that had to actually bring him in, and that's why he's getting all of this airtime. And if you notice, he was on Fox News in this clip, and MSNBC won't have him in there for the life of them. Absolutely ridiculous. But just so you know, guys, when you see articles like that, understand what you're actually seeing. When you see someone saying, it's not so bad, that's just Joe Scarborough. That's Don Lemon. That's Chris Cuomo. Don't buy it. Don't buy into what they're saying. Just listen, I know it's a bad phrase. YouTube, I know. I'm just going to tell people to do their own research. I mean, I'm just saying. Okay, YouTube. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what Google's all about, right? I'm actually advertising for Google right now. Do your own research. And use Google. Use Google. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. It helps us tremendously. Other than that, I'm out.